Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about musculoskeletal pain during menopause. This is one of the top-ranking bothersome symptoms experienced by Chinese women. You can learn more about menopause symptoms in Asian women in this video. If you're experiencing muscle and joint pain during this transitional phase, you're not alone. In fact, studies show that a staggering 71% of perimenopausal women report musculoskeletal pain, with 25% experiencing severe symptoms. This is significantly higher than those who are in perimenopause. So let's unpack the facts, help raise awareness, and explore some tips on what you can do about it. When it comes to pain severity, postmenopausal women are particularly vulnerable. They have a 45% higher risk of experiencing moderate to severe musculoskeletal pain compared to premenopausal women. This indicates that during the menopause transition, women are more vulnerable to pain issues. The main risk factors associated with greater musculoskeletal pain are high body mass index, or BMI, anxiety, depression, and negative perception of aging and menopause. So taking care of your mental health and physical health is key. In 2024, the journal Climacteric published an article introducing a new syndrome, the Musculoskeletal Syndrome of Menopause, or MSM. A syndrome in medicine refers to a collection of symptoms that are frequently found together. For example, polycystic ovarian syndrome and metabolic syndrome. These collection of symptoms may not have an identifiable or a single established cause. This is in contrast to a disease, where there is an established biological cause, the symptoms are well defined, and changes are consistent. So getting back to MSM, the collection of symptoms include joint pain or arthralgia, loss of muscle mass or sarcopenia, loss of bone density or osteoporosis, increased risk of low-impact fractures, tendon and ligament injuries, adhesive capsulitis, and the progression of osteoarthritis. A significant portion of these women show no structural findings on imaging, but there is evidence that these symptoms are due to declining levels of estrogen. It's crucial for primary care doctors, OBGYNs, orthopedic specialists, and physiotherapists to recognize and discuss these changes with their patients. By doing so, they can encourage lifestyle modifications that empower women to take charge of their health. So let's take a deep dive into the various symptoms and the processes involved in MSM. First up, arthralgia. This term refers to joint pain, and when it affects multiple joints, it's called polyarthralgia. In this condition, the process of inflammation plays a role. A side note, women undergoing hormone therapy for breast cancer often experience severe polyarthralgia, particularly in the shoulders, knees, and elbows, when the action or production of estrogen is blocked. This is why doctors believe estrogen has a crucial role in joint health. Next, we have osteoarthritis, a degenerative joint disease that develops over time, causing pain, stiffness, and swelling in the joints. Sarcopenia is the age-related loss of muscle mass and function. This condition leads to poor balance, an increased risk of falls, and loss of stamina. You can learn more about sarcopenia and its related condition, dyspnea, in this video. Osteoporosis refers to the loss of bone density, significantly increasing the risk of fractures. Adhesive capsulitis, or frozen shoulder, is another condition leading to pain and stiffness. Did you know it affects about 2 to 5% of the general population, usually starting around age 55, and it is 1.4 times more common in women than men. A Japanese study found that shoulder pain is one of the most common issues for women going through menopause. This shoulder pain can make daily activities like bathing, dressing, and sleeping very difficult. There is evidence that estrogen affects how tendons function and behave. Estrogen plays a pivotal role in regulating inflammation and maintaining muscle mass, bone density, and cartilage health. Its decline is linked to an increased risk of MSM. Now, how can we manage these conditions? Lifestyle interventions are key, with or without medical therapies. Nutritional changes like increasing protein, vitamin D, vitamin K, and magnesium, along with regular exercise, particularly resistance training, can make a significant difference. Medical therapies will depend on the process. Where inflammation plays a role, such as in arthralgia, acute injuries, or osteoarthritis, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medications help pain relief. Menopause hormone therapy, or MHT, can also be beneficial, especially for preventing osteoporosis, and may have a role in MSM. But always speak to your doctor or consult a health professional, especially if you have an underlying medical condition, before taking medications, supplements, or starting a new exercise program. Before we wrap up, I want to highlight 2 additional conditions that were not discussed in the MSM article and are often overlooked in perimenopausal women: Myofascial Pain Syndrome, or MPS, and Fibromyalgia. These 2 conditions are less well-researched, but equally important. Personally, myofascial pain has contributed to some chronic pain I have been experiencing over the last 2 years. So first, let's talk about Myofascial Pain Syndrome. MPS is a condition characterized by pain in the muscles and the surrounding fascia. Studies show that the prevalence of MPS is greater in women than men. Individuals typically report localized pain in specific areas or referred pain that can vary in pattern. Physical examination reveals taut bands and trigger points. These are tender spots or muscle knots that elicit local and referred pain on compression. This means where you are experiencing pain may be referred from another area in your body where there are trigger points. For example, pain in the hip or low back pain may be referred from trigger points in the gluteal muscles or the buttocks. It really is a pain in the butt, pun intended. MPS can be classified into 2 forms: acute and chronic. Acute MPS often improves on its own with simple treatments, while chronic MPS generally has a poorer prognosis, with symptoms lasting 6 months or more. The exact cause of MPS is still unclear, but a leading theory points to an energy crisis in the muscle fibers resulting in trigger points. Repetitive or prolonged activity can lead to muscle hypoxia and ischemia, dysfunctional calcium pumps, and sustained contracted muscles. Inflammation also plays a role in pain perception. Histopathological findings in trigger points show contracted muscle fibers, narrowed endomysium, and reduced mitochondria. Diagnosis is primarily based on clinical findings, but can be supported by electromyography and ultrasound. These tools help rule out other conditions like bursitis or tendinopathy. When it comes to treatment, the goals are to alleviate pain and address underlying issues. Stretching, massage, and ergonomic modifications can help. Heat therapy, either with a local heat pack or traditional saunas, may be useful. Physical modalities like shockwave therapy or low-power laser therapy show promise in pain reduction. More invasive options like dry needling and local anesthetic injections require specific expertise and can also be effective. It's important to address any perpetuating factors like vitamin D deficiency, especially in chronic cases. Common medications used include non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs and muscle relaxants, although their effectiveness is debated since inflammation does not seem to play a major factor in trigger points. Differentiating MPS from other conditions is essential. Conditions like tendinopathy, arthritis, and fibromyalgia can present similarly. Stay until the end for more information about fibromyalgia. Some of these conditions can coexist with each other, making diagnosis and management challenging. There's no one definitive approach. Collaboration involving doctors, physiotherapists, massage therapists, pain specialists, mental health professionals are important. Personally, massage therapy, including professional and self-massage, has played a role in managing my MPS. I have found this book, Save Yourself from Trigger Points and Myofascial Pain Syndrome by Paul Ingram, a great resource if you want to deep dive into the science and learn some practical self-treatment techniques. Just for transparency, I received no compensation at all for recommending it. But after seeking advice from several physiotherapists, undergoing different physical modalities, I found his self-treatment tips kept my trigger points at bay. A tip I learned from his blog is to inquire about your healthcare provider's knowledge of the works of Travell and Simons. Knowledge of the anatomy of trigger points may help you and your provider explore sources of referred pain. Let's move on to fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is a complex condition that presents with widespread pain, chronic fatigue, and significant sleep disturbances. One of the challenges with fibromyalgia is that it does not have specific diagnostic tests. Instead, diagnosis primarily relies on assessing symptoms. To diagnose fibromyalgia, healthcare providers conduct a thorough medical history, detailing the location, severity, and duration of pain, alongside associated symptoms like sleep disorders, fatigue, and cognitive difficulties. A physical examination is crucial to rule out other conditions that may mimic fibromyalgia, such as rheumatoid arthritis or lupus. Laboratory and imaging tests may also be utilized to exclude other potential causes of symptoms. Both biological and environmental factors appear to play a role in fibromyalgia. Fluctuating levels of estrogen during the perimenopause can increase the sensitivity to pain via neural pathways. However, menopause hormone therapy is not currently recommended. When it comes to managing fibromyalgia, treatment focuses on symptom management. Effective management of fibromyalgia often requires a team approach. This can include primary care doctors, rheumatologists, exercise physiologists, mental health professionals, pain management specialists, physical therapists, and sleep specialists. So let's explore these various approaches. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is often effective in helping patients manage their thoughts and feelings about pain. This approach can be more beneficial when combined with other treatments. Additional mental health counseling may also support emotional well-being. A systematic review in 2024 found that resistance training twice a week, with weights progressing to 40 to 80% of 1 rep max for 4 to 24 weeks, was safe and effective for improving pain, function, and quality of life. In another systematic review and meta-analysis, aerobic exercise was also found to improve pain. A recommendation of 2 to 3 times a week of 25 to 40 minutes, aiming for more than 100 minutes per week, starting at low intensity and progressing to high intensities over 6 to 12 weeks, should be tailored to individual preferences and adherence. Fibromyalgia is associated with osteoporosis. A cross-sectional study of 65 women found that adherence to a Mediterranean diet improved markers of bone health. Another cross-sectional study of 20 Italian women found that vitamin D deficiency affected physical function and magnesium deficiency are associated with increased stiffness. However, supplementation outcomes for these were inconclusive. There are several medications that can help alleviate pain and improve sleep. This may include antidepressants, even in the absence of clinical depression, anti-seizure medications, as these have effects on the central and peripheral nervous system, plus other analgesics. It is worth noting that some of these medications are also used as part of treating hot flashes in menopause. They do require a prescription and careful evaluation from your doctor, as they are not risk-free. It's important to note that anti-inflammatory medications are generally ineffective for fibromyalgia. So finding the right medication and dosage often requires trial and error, so patience is key. Some patients explore complementary therapies like acupuncture, massage, and hypnosis. However, scientific evidence supporting their effectiveness in fibromyalgia is limited. Always consult your doctor before trying these alternative therapies. Living with chronic musculoskeletal pain means adopting proactive self-management strategies that include regular exercise, nutrition, good sleep hygiene, stress management techniques, in conjunction with medical therapies under the supervision of your health provider. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit. Also check out the resource links below for more information. Remember, awareness is the first step towards better health in perimenopause. Take care of yourselves and see you in the next video.